Rabbi Weiss, Rabbi Weiss, of the Neturei Karta, Jews United Against Violence.
Can you spell the last name?
W-E-I-S-S.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Well, to us as Jews who are true to the Torah, it feels like pouring salt on an open wound, because with God's help, the whole occupation, the existence of the Zionist state of Israel is hurting us for 70 years, because Judaism is religion to serve God, and our identity, our name of Judaism is being hijacked and transformed into a nationalism, an occupation of a people that is totally forbidden according to the laws of our religion. So, in the name of our religion, people are suffering, the Palestinian people. And mind you, in Jerusalem, in Palestine, my Jewish brethren are brutally being beaten and arrested because they refuse to serve in the Israeli army, and they refuse to accept this occupation. So we are here today actually as representatives of Jews around the world who are true to the Torah and our brethren in Palestine to plead with the president. Please rescind this decree, this claim that Jerusalem is the capital of a state which is truly illegitimate and unacceptable according to the Jewish religion. They say it's a Jewish state. Judaism doesn't accept the state. This state is the cause of exacerbating the endless river of bloodshed of Jews and Muslims. We have been living together, Jews and Muslims, for hundreds of years, and there is not a religious conflict between us. There is a conflict between a relatively new entity, a 70-year-old state, an ideology of Zionism that is 100-odd years, not the 3,000-year-old religion of Judaism, a 150-year-old ideology that came in to a land, a holy land, where Jews and Muslims lived in harmony, and they simply placed their control and occupation over the inhabitants of the Muslims and of the Jews, and we are all suffering. So it's not religion that is in conflict, it is an unacceptable entity, a flawed ideology that is occupying the creations of God, and we are all suffering. And to call Jerusalem the capital, to give it a sort of legitimacy, that cannot be acceptable. We plead with our president.
So you believe it's going to trigger violence there?
Yes, it's making people hurt more. We plead for the Palestinian people and for the Jewish people. Not only don't declare Jerusalem as a capital, but step back and see how we lived together for hundreds of years, Jews and Muslims, and help us remove the impediment to peace, this illegitimate sovereignty, the Zionist state of Israel. God help speedily and peacefully.
So, just one. So, do you think if there's violence that's happening, like more and more people fight against this policy, do you think it's justified?
We aren't condoning violence. We have suffered. We, as Jews, have suffered for hundreds of years. My grandparents died in Auschwitz. We are some people who have suffered, but we cannot stand by and watch that suffering of the Palestinian people and my Jewish brethren who are being under the occupation. We are not condoning the violence, but when you occupy a people, an action brings reaction, and we know that the result is what we have seen of 70 years of endless bloodshed. Jews lived in Muslim lands, in every Muslim land, without any human rights groups to protect them. We were able to flourish. And now there has been a total evacuation of Jews from the Muslim lands, and a warfare, a bloodshed, mistrust, animosity on and on in the Holy Land because a flawed political movement decided to set up their regime in this Holy Land. It's incomprehensible and unacceptable. So we are saying that is the natural state of events, and we don't condone the violence. We hurt from the violence, and the removal of the Zionist state will bring back to what history attests of coexistence without in the necessity even of a human rights groups to protect us. History shows we live together. We don't have this conflict of religion. That is a totally misinterpretation of the natural state of events of our coexistence.
Thank you so
So
much.
why did the Jews need a land to be settled in at the end of the war?
They don't need it. This is
Why?
wrong.
No, there were ships full of Jews going around the country, going around the world, and they couldn't dock and let their people off. They came to the United States.
Well, now
they
you're
went
asking
back. Why did they need that if they could live in
totally
peace?
irrelevant.
No, it's not
point.
irrelevant.
You're trying
The
to,
Jews
you're trying
needed
to
a place
confuse
to
the issue.
live.
That is
No.
not true. That
No.
we certainly
No, it is
the
true.
world is
It's a
big,
fact.
and the fact is that we are living. And my father, who escaped from the Holocaust, moved to the
Well, my
United
wife's
States.
entire family was murdered in Germany by Hitler.
I'm sorry, my first cousins were murdered there. My uncles and aunts and my grandparents were killed. You're talking to a person who has the Holocaust in my blood.
That's great.
Don't
That's great.
try to-
But you know, the Jews need a place. The Jews need a place to live, and Israel is their place to live. And this isn't a policy. This is a law of the United States. It says that the capital goes to Jerusalem.
Do you have a home? Do you have a home?
Actually, I don't. I live in a motor coach,
Well, what can I?
and I travel around the
Well, what
country.
about your motor coach? If you would go back tonight and a family of people from Rwanda or from Syria, you'll find them living in your motor coach, and they'll say, "Look, we need a place to live." I'm sorry, you need a place. We're 15 people. You're one. Are you going to say that that's the right way to do that? They can take over your house because they need a place to live. Just because the Jews suffered doesn't give them the right.
The United
Let me
Nations
finish.
gave them that home.
Excuse me, that does not give them the right, because we suffered, and I'm amongst them, that we could take and occupy another people's home.
It was all
that's
legal.
Totally
It was all legal.
Not logical.
It was legal.
That's not logical that you could steal another person's home because
You know,
you
you're
suffered.
fighting an issue that has
You didn't answer me.
absolutely
I'm
no
asking you,
resolution
is that
right
logical?
now.
Answer me if that's logical. That if some person is suffering, he can go into your and he doesn't have a home, he's homeless, he can take over your home.
If
Is
he's
that logical?
if he is
Answer me.
suffering, then I will help
Answer
him.
me.
If he
You
is
may help
suffering.
him, but I ask you, does that give him the right, without your permission, to take your home away because he's suffering? Answer me.
It's a totally different situation.
Why is it different? Why the Jews who
Where
suffered in
did
Europe?
all the
Well,
Jews?
answer me.
Why were
the
they
Jews-
roaming the world looking for a place
why
to
if
live?
the Jews suffered in
No,
Europe?
answer my question.
I'm asking you.
You're giving me these crazy
you said it's
ideas
a
about if
different
somebody
story.
wants to come in my motor coach.
well,
Deal with reality. Why did the United Nations give Israel a place?
That's a good
Why did they
question.
do that?
We plead with the United
See,
Nations
you've been
to
fighting
refute
this
that.
for 70 years.
We've been fighting it more than 7 years because Zionism was created, the ideology, before the state. And from day one, our rabbis and all the Jewish communities stood up and said, no,
Okay.
they don't speak in our
Okay,
name.
so in reality, what you're really fighting here is the law of the land of the United States that says that they will support the movement of the capital.
We are pleading
From
with the
Tel Aviv
United States
over
that
to
they should
Jerusalem.
see that they're being conned. They're being conned and duped by a slick
No, they're
by
not.
a slick PR firm.
No, they're not.
Oh, yes, they are.
No, they're
because
not.
I live here, and we are Jews who. Things are being stated in our name, and people are being accused as villains in the name of Judaism. They're accusing the Muslims and Arabs of being our enemies, and that is vicious and vile, because the Muslims and Arabs gave us a home for hundreds of years. We lived amongst them. They embraced us when we were suffering.
And that's
in
why a
Europe.
lot of them want to eradicate Israel off the face of the earth.
Israel is harder if my body is stronger.
That's
I
Zionist
would tear
propaganda.
through the streets.
Well, obviously we can't have a discussion because of all your bullies over here. So
That's
I'm going to back
Zionist
out.
propaganda.
My body stronger.
All right.
I would tear through the streets.